Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Becky. Today we are here to go ahead and make our cuts for the Backyard Bliss Card Making Workshop. Right here I'm showing you all the supplies. It says materials needed. Backyard Bliss Card Making Workshop Kit, Papaya ink, pine ink, sapphire ink, black ink, watercolor paints, small round water brush, which FYI I did not have. So we're going to be using a medium-sized round water brush, 3D foam tape, and then several different size blocks, paper trimmer, scissors, adhesive, and a ruler. So when we open up the kit, this is what we have in there. I will say I had previously opened my kit. It did have some silver shimmer trim in it, which I managed to misplace somewhere. So for me, when I put together this workshop kit, I'm going to be using some rose gold shimmer trim because I happened to have had some of that. I didn't have another roll of silver though. The rose gold is Z5017. So right here, I just took 4 pieces of copy paper. I'm writing them a 1, 2, 3, 4 and folding them in half hamburger style. This is where we're going to put our project pieces once we cut them. So you can see right here, first I'm looking through my pieces or papers that were in the kit. First, we're going to go ahead and cut off the branding strip. You can see in the top left-hand corner of your screen, I am showing you what all we are cutting here. This is actually page 2 of the PDF, which is the cutting guide or not only the cutting guide, the entire guide for this card kit, which is again the Backyard Bliss. Now I will tell you guys this, if you guys do not get this card kit, you don't go purchase it or whatnot, at the very minimum, go ahead and click the link down below. It'll take you over to this kit on my shop and scroll down and at least download this PDF, because then you at least have some instructions. You have got basically templates for 4 card designs, right? So pretty cool. You can hop over there and get that for yourself. That is free. And again, whether you purchase this card kit or not, I would say go do that, because free resources hard to find these days. Everybody charges for everything. So there you go. We're going to go ahead and move on to cutting our main paper right here. You can see, well, you might not be able to see this actually because this PDF is so small in your screen, depending on what you're viewing on, I guess. But you can see how it does have a little picture block down there at the bottom of the papers, and it shows you the front is the floral paper and the back is the green, and the back has an asterisk by it. That means if you are cutting, for example, the first cut we made, those first 4 rectangular boxes that are 5.5 by 2, where they say 2A, it has an asterisk by it. That means that we're using the back side of that paper with those cuts. Now, how they're labeled, these ones I'm cutting right here, those are 2A. And then here's the second strip. And these 3 that I'm cutting here are going to be going on project 4C, as did the very final one of the previous cuts. But I'm going to show you after we get done cutting these, we're going to go ahead and pull in those copy paper folders we made. Basically made folders just by folding the papers in half, right? We're going to go ahead and pull those out and stick these pieces in there. We're going to stick both the cuts from these papers as well as, you see the zip strip piece was already in there. That's how we're going to keep all our projects together. Sorry if you hear that. That is Gunner. Let me go see what his problem is. That was just the FedEx guy with the close to my heart box. Woohoo! Okay, so we are going to go ahead and continue cutting this beautiful floral paper. When we're done with this, guys, we're going to be moving on to the cardstock. And I do have it all recorded on here for you guys. I'm not really sure how to talk through the cutting. The guide up in the top left hand corner will change, see, so you can see how I'm cutting this. This is a little bit more tricky when it has lots of cuts on it like this one does. Look at that. And then when you go to the side, that very last row, it's not quite 4 inches long like how we cut that initial piece. Does that make sense? Yeah, some of these are kind of tricky for me. And I know when I got down to the sapphire strip, the 1Ds at the bottom on the sapphire strip, I kind of cut some of those wrong. It's okay because they're such small cuts. I mean, I had plenty of paper left over to go and, fix it. There's always a fix, right? So it's okay. But sometimes these can be, there's just so many. So take your time, make sure you're reading it. I know that, like on our workshop kits like this, it will for example, what we're working with right now, it says 1A, 1A, 2E. 2E is actually what we're cutting right now. 4E, the biggest thing for me is you have to make sure that you keep all those pieces separate. And since I've started doing the workshop kits, I don't know, a few years ago when I first started buying the workshop kits, that's the easiest way for me to do it. And then another thing that's also difficult for me is when you've got just so many cuts, especially a lot of small cuts. Sometimes, like on this one, you can see this is only one sheet of paper. If I mess up too much on these, I don't have that much left over to go and fix what I did wrong. So I either need to buy an extra sheet of this Papaya cardstock or, try and see if I have something similar in my stash or something like that. I didn't have that problem. I'm just saying you could have that problem. And like looking at that PDF, you can see the next color we go on to is going to be Shortbread. It's top right on that PDF that's in the top left-hand corner of your screen. You can see we still have about half of that diagonally. We still have about half of that paper left. So I could fix if I mess up. Same with the pine and the sapphire down toward the bottom. Those I have more than half a sheet left. So it's okay, kind of if you mess it up. But I do try to be extra careful especially when they are small cuts, because there's just so many of them a lot of the time. So yeah. So after we do this papaya page, we are going to move on to the shortbread cardstock, which is the yellow. And again, with our cardstock, and you can see it's kind of the same as the pattern paper. It has the color swatches down there underneath the cutting instructions, and the lighter side says light, and then the darker side says dark, because our cardstocks are double-sided. There's a light side and a dark side. But again, with these, on dark, it says asterisk and then dark. So any of your cuttings that have an asterisk by it, like, for example, the long ones of these papayas say 3C asterisk, that means we're going to be using the dark side of that one. It's very basic and simple to read. It really is once you get to reading it. If you have any questions, and I know to some people, they might be like, Becky, why are you even wasting time with measurements or, whatnot? Well, some people really don't know how to measure, and it's very simple and easy. And once someone tells them how to do it, they'll be able to do it. Right? I think sometimes we take for granted, not just as scrapbookers, but just as women or people in general. Sometimes I think we take for granted just how much we know, and kind of assume other people know the same thing. Well, that's not necessarily the truth, and oftentimes is definitely not the truth. So, yeah, don't take for granted what you know. You might know a lot of stuff that you might think people know, but like, for example, I just watched a TED Talk. Okay, let me tell you about this. I just watched a TED Talk the other day, and I think it was Mel Robbins, and she had a prop with her, and it was one of those ketchup cups, and she's asking the crowd, how many of these do you, like, if you go get your french fries at McDonald's or whatever, how many of these little cups of ketchup do you take back to the table? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, there's a trick to it. This is basically, it's not Sometimes what you see is maybe not it. Maybe you need to dig a little deeper, you know? Well, this little tiny cup that you put your ketchup in at the fast food restaurants or some restaurants, there's a little thing on the side where you can open it up and it expands that cup so you can fit way more ketchup in it than you can when it's folded up. I didn't know those things collapsed. Who else didn't know those things collapsed? I didn't until I watched that TED Talk. But I'm just saying, who would have thought? Not me. So someone, maybe even a lot of you are walking around with that information thinking everybody knows that. Well, I didn't know that. So that was just an example. All right, so now we're cutting on the shortbread strip right here. I think this is going to be our last cuts. Those go on project 2B. Oh, hold on. So be on the lookout for just like little things like that. Make sure you're reading them. I know the card kit I did before this card kit might have been the scrapbooking workshop, but I kept saying that the cuts on this one specific piece were not right. They weren't right. I think I was seeing it as 1/4, but that's not really what it said. It said 3/4 or something like that. So if you do have a little bit of a vision impairment like I myself do, yeah, you might just make sure you're really seeing what you're seeing. Does that make sense? Make sure you're looking at these carefully. Okay, we're going to move on to the Sapphire cardstock. And again, this is going to be the light side followed by the dark side. The dark cuts will have asterisks by them. On this one, it doesn't look like we have any. So it looks like everything, all the cuts on here are going to be light. You can see right here, I'm doing this one a little bit different. I'm cutting all the vertical cuts first, and then I'm going to turn them on their sides. So this calls for 4 pieces of 1.5 by 5.5, which are what I'm cutting right now. These are the 1.5 strips, and I'm cutting them at 5.5. The first piece that came off when we made our first vertical cut is for 2D, and these are going to be 1 by 1 3/4. I need 4 of those, and then the rest of the cuts are going to be for project number 1. So we'll make sure we get these cut, put them in their appropriate spots, because we're keeping all the projects separated. All the 1s with 1s, all the 2s with 2s, all the 3s with 3s, all the 4s with 4s. I will go ahead and give you a heads up. I did complete this entire card kit and then edited the videos. Now I'm editing the videos. My video for card number 3 was corrupt, so we are not actually, we did make it, so I'll show that to you, but we are not actually going to be having a video for that one. So if you are following along with me, yeah, you're gonna have to make number 3 on your own. I'll be there in spirit with you though. After we get done with the blue, we are moving on to the white cardstock. We do have a few pieces of white that's we're actually cutting to go on cards. Most of them will be housing the sentiments. I have no idea what I'm doing here. Oh, apparently these are 1/8. And yeah, that's kind of hard for me. No, it's not. It's 1/4. What did I say? 1/8. They're 1/4. Still kind of hard for me. Okay, so most of these white pieces were cut here. Again, this is not going to be such a big deal if we mess up on our white. It's going to be a pain, right? Obviously, I went when someone called me while I was doing a voiceover. So you know, if you mess up your cut, it's going to be like, you know, it's going to be a pain. But it's not that big of a deal because we all have white cardstock. So we are going to be cutting pieces out. Most of them are going to be to house our sentiments, like I said, so we'll be stamping on them. But then we have a lot of other cuts that are for our dies, to make dies. And what they're doing here is they're making them, the cuts, if you want to cut it, you don't have to cut it how they say to cut it on those. You can just use white scraps that you have laying around if you'd rather go that route. Like they give you 2 pieces of white cardstock, but that second piece of white cardstock, that's all die cuts. I mean, whatever's on there is die cuts. You can pull out your white scraps for that if you feel like, you know, not wasting a whole sheet of white. Anyways, you don't have to cut this. They say, like, on that first one, it says cut it 3 3/4 by 8 so that you can fit all 3 dies on a 3 3/4 by 8. So you have to cut a couple of those. And then it said cut 3 3/4 by 4.5. So you know, but you don't, those aren't really necessarily what you have to do. You just need to, I mean, you can obviously, but you just need to make sure that you cut out all the dies that it says to cut out. Like that wheelbarrow die, you're gonna need 4 of those. That barrel die, the barrel, 2 on one card, 2 goes on each card, and there's 4 of that card, so you'll need 8 of those. So just make sure you have enough. Also, when you're doing your die cuts, you have leftover white cardstock, and you also probably have plenty of leftover white scraps. You can very easily cut extras of these, or a lot of people stamp and then die cut. If you want to do that right here, absolutely do that. If you like to stamp first, go ahead and do that right here. If you like to cut first and then stamp, I didn't stamp mine until I was doing the cards, but if you want to stamp yours up front, you can certainly do that here. I will say, if you wait till later, when you cut out the flower die, that one I had to cut out extras later. I had to come back in and cut out extras because I had a difficult time getting that lined up. I kept wanting to stamp it down too low, and I don't know if that's was just me that day or if it's just really a difficult one to stamp after you cut. I'm not sure, but just in case, maybe you might want to cut a few extras of probably all of these if you want to, or 1 or 2 extra at least. Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and cut all of these out. After we get done doing that, guys, I think I'm going to go ahead and just show you what I have left over and bag those up. I'm going to use them later. Maybe I'll make some more cards at some other point in time or something. I thought about combining my leftovers from the card workshop. Also, keep those handy. Don't do anything with them yet. Keep them handy just in case you messed up any of your cuts, first of all. But I've finished making my cards at this point, so I was thinking maybe I'll take those scraps and the scraps I have left over from the scrapbooking workshop kit for Backyard Bliss, and maybe I'll just get all those scraps together and just make some more stuff until I run out of scraps. I'm not sure. That's what I'm thinking about right now. All right, guys, I want to thank you so much for joining me. I will have everything linked down below. On the front of this PDF, it says materials needed. So everything that is needed, I will link if it's available, which it should be available. And if you don't want to play along or you don't want to pick up this card kit, again, at the very least, click the link for the Backyard Bliss Cardmaking Workshop kit. It'll take you to it. Scroll down and there will be a link to the PDF instructions. Go ahead and grab that, because you will then have 4 card designs right in front of you as inspiration or something. You can, is it called card lifting if you do that with a card, or is it still called scrap lifting? I don't know. You can card lift it, whatever. And I think that's pretty cool. All right, guys, I want to thank you so much for joining me. We are just about done here. It looks like we have a few more minutes, but I don't have a whole lot more to say, I don't think. Unless you want to tell me what you want to see next. I have got a kit that I don't think you can get. Well, actually, you can get your hands on it. There's only a few left in stock, I think is what it says, or it might be out of stock now. It's the Sweet Safari layouts, which I really want to do those. I think I have a couple older kits that I think I might want to play with. I've been really enjoying making these or doing these workshop kits. I've been having, I don't know, I guess I'm just going through a phase right now. Maybe. Sometimes all you want to do is scrapbook. Sometimes all you want to do is art journal. Sometimes all you want to do is, make some cards. Right now, I'm just really having a good time following these workshops. And I think the thing is, in my life at this point in time, I'm very overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed right now with just a bunch of things. And I think that when I sit down and work on these kits, I don't have to come up with my own ideas. All I have to be able to do is read and follow instructions. That is it. I don't have to use any of my own brain power for anything else. I can turn on the Netflix, veg out while I'm doing it, not have a care in the world. I love it. It's kind of like therapeutic to me. That's how these workshop kits are. Yeah, pick it up for the therapeutic value, right? No, I'm serious. So I guess I'm probably just going through a phase right now. I don't know. We'll wait and see what happens. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Leave your comments down below. Check the links as well. And let me know if you're playing along. And I'll see you guys next time, all right? Bye, guys. I am the most professional YouTuber in the history of the land. No, I forgot to put my phone on silent. I am very, very sorry. I'm getting aggravated with myself right about now. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and finish up with this shortbread color. This is really nice. Okay, now we're going to move on to the pine colored, which is the dark green. This one, they're going to trip you up just a little bit, because it says dark and then light, and light has the asterisk by it on this one. So yeah, they trip you up a little bit. On the Papaya, Shortbread, and Sapphire cardstock, light goes first. On this one, dark came first. And